Iconoclash.
Get on down in here, you spandex-loving sweat hogs, and behold, Iconoclash, where we crack open celebrity beefs like Superfly cracks craniums.
Helplessly, we look on, aghast.
I'm Big Johnny Eldritch, your humble narrator, lacing up my vinyl boots for a legendary wrestling war that's been body-slamming egos since the 1990s. Bret the Hitman Hart versus the Heartbreak Kid, Shawn Michaels. This ain't your run-of-the-mill flash-in-the-pan feud. It's a steel chair soap opera that makes Days of Our Lives look like community theater at the nursing home. What does that mean? Exactly. So grab your fanny pack and let's step into the squared circle of this iconic WWF grudge match. Picture it, the mid-90s, when the World Wrestling Federation, now WWE for you young bloods, was a steroid circus of larger-than-life characters. Shawn Michaels, the Heartbreak Kid, is a bleach blonde, cocky pretty boy with a high-flying moveset and an ego that he could barely squeeze into his sequin chaps. He's the guy who ziplined into WrestleMania 12, stole hearts, and alienated himself from the entire locker room. Then you've got Bret the Hitman Hart, the Canadian technical wrestling hero who was born in a pink and black singlet. His entire demeanor seemed to scream, "Don't get flirty with me, bitches. I'm here to do the work." These two were the WWF's top dogs, but their rivalry wasn't just kayfabe. It was personal, petty, and uglier than a Brock Lesnar moonsault. The bad blood kicks off around 1992. Bret's the WWF champion, a workhorse who carried the company through its steroid scandal slump. Shawn, meanwhile, is climbing the ladder, flashing his $1 million smile and the chip on his shoulder. By 1996, they're both main eventers, but they represent very different styles. Bret's old school, a grappler who thinks his wrestling is about storytelling and sweat. Shawn's sniffing out a new era of over-the-top flash and charisma, supported by his clique buddies, Kevin Nash, Scott Hall, Triple H, and X-Pac. To be fair, despite embracing a more traditional style, Bret's dour attitude hardly endeared him to the boys in the locker room either. Wrestling fans still debate who is the bigger diva, with some calling Shawn a backstabbing showboat, while others paint Bret as a whiny purist. The heat really cranks up in 1997. Shawn's WWF champion, but he's battling injuries and a rumored painkiller problem. He loses his smile in a now infamous promo, vacating the title rather than dropping it to Bret at WrestleMania 13. Bret's pissed, thinking Shawn's dodging him to protect his ego. Sources like Dave Meltzer's Wrestling Observer reported Shawn was throwing shade backstage, allegedly calling Bret boring and mocking his work rate. Bret, never one to let a low blow slide, fired back in promos, calling Shawn a pretty boy who'd rather dance than wrestle.
To list all the reasons why I can't stand you and you make me sick.
On a June 1997 Raw, things got physical off script. Bret later admitted in his 2007 autobiography, Hitman, that he decked Shawn backstage after Michaels cut a promo implying Hart was cheating on his wife. The not-too-subtle "Sunny Days" comment was a sly accusation that Bret had had an affair with WWF manager Sonny, who Michaels had slept with several times himself. Fists flew, hair was pulled, and athletic cups were crushed, as very serious adult men in onesies attempted to assert dominance over one another among catering tables adorned with ham sandwiches and bowls of antipasto. The locker room ultimately intervened, but you try to crowd control completely shaved, vinyl-clad gladiators who slather themselves in baby oil. Enter the Montreal Screwjob, the most infamous event in wrestling history. November 9th, 1997, Survivor Series in Montreal. Bret's WWF champion, but he's jumping ship for rival promotion WCW due to a contract dispute. He's set to face Shawn, who's presumably found his smile again, for the title. Bret, a proud Canadian, agrees to relinquish the belt the next evening on Raw, but doesn't want to lose in his home country. WWF boss Vince McMahon, Shawn, and referee Earl Hebner have other plans. Mid-match, Shawn locks Bret in his own signature sharpshooter hold. Hebner quickly calls for the bell, declaring Shawn the winner, even though Bret never tapped out. The crowd loses it, chanting bullshit, as Bret spits in Vince's face on the live pay-per-view. This was a poutine-enriched wad of phlegm, not just a little hitman spittle. Bret trashes the set, spelling out WCW in the air, while Shawn plays innocent, swearing he wasn't in on the fix. Fans still lose their minds over this, eternally echoing the cry, "Shawn screwed Bret." Vince would later turn the tables on that sentiment, clarifying Bret screwed Bret by overplaying his hand and refusing to do the job. There was only one big boss in those days, and thus the legendary Mr. McMahon character was born, organically, in that moment. The fallout was messier than CM Punk's skivvies.
Helplessly, we look on, aghast.
Bret, his fans, and the whole Hart clan were livid, feeling betrayed by Vince and Shawn. In an interesting aside, Sonny would walk out of the company the next day for a short hiatus. In his 1998 documentary, Wrestling with Shadows, Bret called the entire fiasco a stab in the back. Shawn leaned into his heel persona, taunting Bret on Raw with lines like, "Hitman, you got screwed." Backstage sources, like Jim Cornette's podcast, claim Shawn was in on the screw job, angling to snag the title. Others, like Triple H, insist Shawn was just following Vince's orders. From here, Bret heads off to WCW, but his career never hits the same heights, partly due to a 1999 concussion courtesy of Goldberg, who no one's ever confused for being a ring technician. Shawn's star goes through the roof, though injuries and personal demons would plague him. Fast forward all the way to 2010, and the ice starts to thaw when Bret returns to WWE for a reconciliation angle. On the January 4th, 2010 episode of Raw, he and Shawn hug it out in the ring, burying the hatchet, or so it would seem. Bret would later tell Sports Illustrated in 2014 that he forgave Shawn, but he never forgot, calling the screw job a scar. Shawn, in his 2015 memoir, Wrestling for My Life, admits he was arrogant and regrets how things went down. To this day, fans still paint Bret as bitter and Shawn as a snake who played dirty. In all fairness, they both seem to accept these sentiments themselves. Wrestling historian Bill Apter on his After Chat podcast says the feud's legacy is its realness. It wasn't just a storyline, it was two alpha males who genuinely despised each other. As of 2025, Bret's retired, doing occasional WWE appearances, and running his Hart Foundation legacy. Shawn's a WWE exec, coaching at the Performance Center, still flashing that Heartbreak Kid smirk. Nevertheless, the feud's a time capsule of 90s wrestling chaos and reveals that the truth is often as or more interesting than fiction in pro wrestling. Well, what do you think, Feud Fiends? Was Bret right to hold a grudge, or has the negativity and his unwillingness to move on from it tainted his legacy? Did Shawn play dirty to become the guy, or was he just a pawn in Vince's master plan? Since there seems to be enough blame to go around to call the beef a draw, let's put it to who's got the better finisher. If you had to take either a sharpshooter from the excellence of execution, or sweet chin music from the sexy boy himself, which would you be looking to dodge the most? Drop your takes in the comments, up the thumbs, and let's keep the fires of All-Star Animus burning bright. Catch us next time when we dissect another star-studded spat that'll make you glad you're not famous. Have a good day, or go bend a folding chair over a neighbor. It's your choice.
Like us. Subscribe to us. Submit to us. Until next time, Feud Fiends. This has been Iconoclash.